All right, thank you. Welcome everyone to our town hall. I'm going to start out just by talking a little bit about the WES basket donation for the employee picnic that's coming up. For several years, the county has facilitated the departments, each donating gift type baskets that they auction off during the employee picnics to raise money for charity. The picnic's coming up, and this year they're supporting the Oregon Dog Rescue. And Wes is working on building a basket with the theme of outdoor yard gardening and games, including outdoor yard decorations. We have some really great donations, so thanks to those who have contributed so far, but we can always use more items. We have a giant basket, so we grew from the planter to an actual cart that the planter will be in. So contributing is totally voluntary, but every donation helps us to raise money. So if you'd like to donate, feel free to bring in items to any of the locations. There's also PayPal and Venmo options, and you can always provide cash to any of the administrative assistants as well. And just check with them if you're bringing in items on where to gather those for each location. And a few years back, Wes had the high bid on a basket that we submitted, and we'd love to take that title again this year. So if you want to contribute, just reach out and ask any questions that you have and let us know. With that, next up, we will go to Chris with an icebreaker.
All right. Welcome, everybody. A couple dad jokes start us off here. First one, what did the big flower say to the little flower? Hi, bud. And this next one is in honor of Jessica's smart picking update. What do you call a pig with no legs? Groundhog. All right. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for that. And next we will go to Greg for his opening remarks.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's funny, I'm going to be talking about Zach and his movie later. It's the complete, like the level of comedy that we just experienced versus what you'll find there. It couldn't be night and day different. Anyway, welcome. Looking forward to the summer. We've got a lot going on. We've got construction projects all over the place. We're just finishing the budget process. We've got community events happening. We've done the Solve Summer Waterways Cleanup series kickoff, and that'll be going all summer through October. So you'll be hearing about volunteering opportunities for that. And I've been going out, and as I do every year, to the cities. Last night I was at Gladstone. Last week I was at Happy Valley, giving a state of the district report, basically a report to the city councils on all the great work that Wes is doing on their behalf. Yeah, I think I'll leave it at that.
All right. Next up, we will go to Stephanie, updating on the summer event.
Yes, the WES summer event, it will be July 30th. It will be from 11 to 1 at Tri-Cities. Management will provide hamburgers and hot dogs. We will send out a potluck sign-up sheet for the side items, so please be looking for that sign-up sheet next week. Activities this year, we're going to have basketball, pickleball, badminton, trivia, and a couple more yard games out there for people to walk around and enjoy. We have also added a snow cone machine and a misting station to help keep people cool since it is going to be at the end of July. And if you have any questions, please reach out to the Events and Recognition Committee.
All right, we're going to exercise Chris's ability to go through the slides here again real quick. And we'll go to some updates that Greg is going to provide.
All right, go ahead. So I just wanted to let folks know that at the Oregon Association of Clean Water Agencies conference in July, which is all of the major clean water agencies across the state attend, the plenary or the flagship presentation session is going to be Jeff Stallard giving talk on Clackamole. So congratulations to Jeff. My suspicion is that he's also going to be giving updates and talks at national level conferences, and that the project will probably win some national awards. So it's going great. Jeff and his team did a great job. Not done yet, but the scary part is over, and it's getting a lot of attention. So next slide. Also wanted to thank and welcome all of the new employees since our last gathering. Darren, Joel, Scott, Kiri, Justin. I always have to think about Hannah because my daughter's name's Hannah. So Song and Jacob. And I've met everyone except for Joel at the last employee appreciation event. I was there and I saw him. Anyway, it just worked out that I was walking to try to go talk to him, and he was leaving, going back to the lab. And so anyway, it was like we were doing a circle fire drill kind of thing. But anyway, Joel, I will try to get over to the lab as soon as possible so that I can meet you in person. Next slide. We also have some promotions, Jim, Danny, and Keani. And some transitions. Gabby went out east for a job for her family. And Dan Strong, of course, retired, although I've seen him 2 or 3, maybe 3 times at different events since he's retired. So he's still active and around, and active in the community. So yeah, congratulations. Next slide. And new anniversaries. I won't read it. Well, Otis, Chris, Devin, Carla, Ron. Ron being at the top of the heap, 25 years, and yeah, wonderful. We got, oh, and Ron, I forgot about Ron. Yeah, 10 years. Congratulations, and thank you. Thank you for choosing WES, and thank you for staying here. Next slide. Also wanted to give a shout out to Galen. This is the first, at least in my knowledge, Google review that we've gotten. Everyone on a fairly regular basis. We have people that call or email and report just how awesome you all are in your customer service. And we got one recently for Galen. I put this together for Gary Schmidt for a good news. So he reads these out to the Board of County Commissioners in their business meeting. So it's on the county's channel. And if you want to see that, you can go to an email that you should have received about 9:15 this morning, the e-newsletter from the county. So awesome job, Galen. And I love that they said it's really hard to find people who love their jobs these days. And I'm so, well, like that was just, I thought a funny thing to say. And Galen, I hope you truly do love your job, because we love having you. And thank you. Next slide.
All right. I think that's it for your
Oh,
update.
that's it. Yep.
Okay, with that, we will start our formal presentations. So first up, we will go to Terrence with an SEM presentation, giving a wrap up and a look ahead.
All right. So for those of you that don't know, SEM is strategic energy management. It's I'll go through a brief update on where we're at with this program. Next slide. So SEM is actually sponsored by Energy Trust of Oregon, which is a nonprofit. They have a system or development charges that go into their funds, and they fund incentives for different programs, and this is one that they fund. Participation is free for utilities and industries and companies, but there are incentives for participating in the program. So WES is a cohort of other private sector participants and other utilities at times, so we can go through a series of workshops to meet those other cohorts in the program. It is designed for low and no cost changes for savings, nothing that capital costs or anything like that. So it's mainly operational changes that we look for. Next slide. So this is kind of how it breaks down. So we have to put together basically an overview, policy and goals, and what kind of resources we're going to have in order to commit to doing this program, because it is a multi-year engagement. So every year we update that policy and update our goals for that engagement period. We did 2 years at Kellogg Creek, and now we're just entering our second year here at Tri-City. Our first year of SEM started in October of 2023 at Tri-City, and we had to go through a series of 6 workshops and a lot of on-site activities. Those are the employee engagement projects, we basically have to give data to our engineer that's part of the coach. We have a coach that works for an energy consulting firm that we help with the data analysis and the reporting to Energy Trust for those incentives. So that's all part of that engagement process. So our first year goal was 5%. So we are working on that. Next slide. So how we do go about it is we perform a treasure hunt. Basically, we got a group of volunteers together, including operations and maintenance, and we did a 1-day treasure hunt around the facility to identify different projects, potential savings, things like that. And this is kind of how those fall into the categories. There's your cost and your reward. We're looking for those gems, which is a low cost and high reward. So those are the ones we try to target first. But our first go around with Tri-City, we identified over 150 projects, and we're able to implement 26 projects in the first year. So we'll talk about a few of those. Some of them are as simple as leak sweeps, turning down pumps, looking for cycles on different projects, different pumps, I'm sorry, for things that run 24 hours. Maybe we can run them less, things like that. So next slide. As a reminder, I always like to talk about the 7 quick wins because it's the mantra of the program, but it's something you could also do at home. A couple that you want to focus on around your workplace and maybe at home is to turn things off when they're not needed. Lights, computers, heaters, air conditioning, things like that. You can turn those off. And the other one I want to highlight is making it a habit, because it's something that we need to implement and not backslide on, so that we can continue to make these savings or continue to have these savings. So WES does have an energy team. It's comprised of the different employees, including an executive sponsor, an energy champion, and our data lead. And we meet monthly to address those types of projects and work on our energy model in our database that the Energy Trust provides us. Next slide. So this is the incentives for this year or last year. So basically it's about 8 cents per kilowatt hour. They have a 100,000 kilowatt hour cap. I'm sorry, I did the math wrong there, but that's not the cap. That's an example. It's $8,000. It's the $75,000 is the cap for the incentives. So our first year with SEM at Tri-City, we saved almost 500,000 kilowatt hours. Our goal was 5%, and we came in right around 4.1. So we're getting close to our goal. So the total savings was about around $39,000 for those incentives, but we received some additional incentives for meeting those milestones. I discussed earlier, like meeting regularly with our coaches, attending the workshops, doing this employee engagement type conversation with the rest of the organization. So that rounded up to be about total of $45,000 for the first year. So we're in our second year currently, and those are more for operational and maintenance type projects. So next slide. This is kind of a snapshot real quick of our database. We have an energy model that we put all our data in, and it basically tells us along the bottom when we implement a project. So that red line is an indication of that we're doing well, because the model is showing that we're going to decrease our energy consumption, even though obviously seasonal effects and all those things we take into account. But overall, our project goals are to implement more and continue that line down. This creates a program that I think is self-sustaining and in alignment with those higher goals that WES has with our performance clackamas data. We do track energy as one of our goals to have, and it's in alignment with the county. So the last slide is our persistence of energy savings. So we do have those monthly energy team meetings. The goal is to utilize signage for communication, putting things like turn off the lights after you leave the building, or keep this thermostat at this setting, so we don't change those kind of settings. And then we're also leveraging our Lucity, which is our asset management program, to put in preventive maintenance and checks on some of our changes. And obviously our biggest persistence is communication. So talking with our energy team and our staff with maintenance and operations, and even the DSB can do some of these things. And obviously our first year was very successful, because I want to give a shout out to Bruce Burney, who was instrumental in maintaining a lot of these projects and coming up with a lot of these ideas, but we're always open to more. We are setting up an energy email that if there's energy ideas, you can email that to the energy team, and also energy board that you can write ideas on, as well as just emailing anybody in the environmental services department or division, so we can address those energy savings or operations staff. But just wanted to give a shout out to Bruce. So that's all I got. If there's any questions, feel free to send them to me or reach out to any of us on the team. So thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Terrence. And I don't see any questions for now in the chat. So next we will go to Jessica, who's going to talk to us about the Bolton Force Main.
Yippee. I had to find the unmute button. So yes, thank you. Next slide, please. As most of you probably remember, we have been working on the Bolton Force Main for a while. We've had multiple breaks in the force main over the past 7 years. Just a kind of refresher of how the city of West Lynn, how their wastewater makes it to us. We have our Willamette pump station. We have a gravity connection that pretty much comes down Highway 43 and crosses over the old Arch Bridge. We have our River Street pump station, and we have our Bolton pump station. Because of the breaks we had in the Bolton force main, we decided to do what's called a smart pigging, where the picture on the right-hand side there, we had SFE Global help us out, and we pushed a pig through the force main that collected all kinds of condition assessment data. Next slide, please. That condition assessment actually told us that there were 8 different places in the force main that we had holes, which scared us half to death. So field ops jumped right on it, and we went out there and dug up those locations where we supposedly had holes in the force main. And there were none, which that is fortunate or unfortunate, depending which way you're looking at this. So in December of 2004, we went back out, next slide please, did some additional testing. We uncovered the 2 places that supposedly had the largest holes. They wrapped the pipe in that orange construction fence and then played a game of Battleship, where they took readings in each of those openings, kind of a grid to lay out and take readings in. We have sections in that pipe where the smart pig said was a hole, where we have less than 1/10 of an inch of wall left on that pipe. So it may not be a through and through hole right now, but it's a very thin piece of metal still holding things together. So once we found this out, we very carefully backfilled the pipe in sand and went back to the drawing board to see, what do we do? How do we address this? Next slide, please. So over the past few months, we worked with Jacobs and did a condition assessment, and well, we did the condition assessment. We did an alternatives analysis based on the condition of the pipe to figure out what should we do. We broke the length of the Bolton force main into these 3 sections you see on the slide now. The first section from the pump station all the way through Burnside Park in Maddox Woods. That is very hard to access. Huge mature trees, a very, lot of impact if we were to go in there. Then with the second section is from the edge of Maddox Woods, pretty much to the Willamette River. This is in public right away, most of the way, in an easement, not as hard to access. Still a little bit of difficulty, but not the worst thing in the world to try and access the pipe. And then we have the portion that's actually under the river. Next slide, please. We looked at things like environmental impacts, constructability, all kinds of things. We also looked at many different methods of, would we replace the pipe, which would be like something like open cut or horizontal directional drill in a new pipe, or would we rehab the pipe in place? We looked at methods such as hose liner, slip lining, CIPP, which is cured in place pipe. And then as I said, the criteria, we looked at environmental impacts, permitting, constructability, operation and maintenance impacts, traffic impacts to both car and pedestrian, because you wouldn't believe how many people go through Burnside Park in a day. We combined all these different replacement or rehab methods based on the criteria, narrowed it down from about 6 options to two that were kind of the preferred. Next slide, please. So the first of the preferred options was actually alternative number one that we looked at, which would be to rehab the section from the pump station through the parks, to open cut the section in River Street to the Willamette River, and then to horizontally directionally drill a new pipe under the Willamette River. And next slide, please. The second preferred option, which was actually the third alternative of the multi that we looked at, was to horizontally directionally drill a new pipe in possibly a slightly different alignment from the pump station through the parks. All of this was because you're avoiding disrupting all those trees in the ground cover. Then again, open cutting River Street through to the banks of the Willamette River and horizontal directional drill another pipe under the river. Next slide, please. Unfortunately, neither of those options were like, yes, clear winner, best option for us to do, easiest of all these things, lower cost. There was really nothing that was obvious. This is what we should do. So, as a lot of you are aware, and Jeff is probably going to touch on in his presentation, the update of the CIP, we have a lot of work going on over in West Lynn. We have a project at the Willamette pump station where we will be building a new pump station. We've already started putting portions of the new force main for the new Willamette pump station on the I-205 bridge. We will be connecting the new pump station to the I-205 bridge, which will alleviate some of the flow that comes through our gravity connection over the old arch bridge. So this, gave us the idea. Actually, it was Zach's idea. Sorry, Zach, calling you out. Zach said, wait a minute, let's look at this. Maybe we can do something different. And this seems to be the time to look at all the options. So next slide, please. We're going to go with a crazy what if scenario. If it's possible, we could horizontal directionally drill a new crossing from the Bolton pump station over to Gladstone. Gladstone seems to be a little bit easier to work with than the city of Oregon City when it comes to easements and permitting and all that. We could, which if we did drill a new connection straight from the pump station across to Gladstone, we would be able to abandon that whole section through Burnside and Maddox Woods, which is very hard to access and maintain. We could drill in or install a new force main from River Street up to the gravity lines that are in approximately Highway 43 in, by that whole plaza there in Holly Street, which would go gravity over the old arch bridge once the Willamette flows are out of there, which would give us the option to abandon the sections from River Street under the river at that point. So there's a lot of new thinking. We didn't want to be tied into the existing alignment of the existing force main. Let's dream big and see if there's better options out there for us now that there are some changes in how we're serving the city of West Lynn. So with that, I am going to put out another RFP or a request for proposals and start working with a consultant to look at these alternatives, see if we should stay with our same existing easements and alignment, or if there is the possibility to reconfigure how we serve the city of West Lynn. Next slide, please. With that.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Are there
Thank you.
any questions after that? All right. Next up, we're going to hear from Jeff, who's going to talk to us about some more capital projects.
Excellent. Thanks. Next slide. Yeah, so we are getting ready to embark on another update. We update our CIP annually. It was adopted by the board. We start the process in, we'll say, July, and it gets adopted by the board right after the first of the year. And so the one we're working on currently is from 25-26, so starting this July through the next 5 years, essentially. But as you can see, the first two slides are just to kind of highlight the amount of investments we're making in infrastructure here at WES. We have a lot of projects to do. We have a lot of We've grown our engineering group to manage those projects, and I think we are going to have about as big an impact on operations as you can have over the next couple of summers with some of the really invasive work we have out in our systems that are impacting not only collection systems, but pump stations. And I'll talk more about some of the projects coming up. But just to highlight, we have on the books right now plan to spend $216 million over the next 5 years. That's an average of $43 million a year on our wastewater side of the house. And then next slide for surface water. On surface water side, we have $27 million of planned work to do, which is a huge increase from historically looking back over the last decade on the investments being made. The big investment you're seeing here in 25-26 is coming from Three Creeks as one of the major projects that will get under construction. We're working through contracting right now. I'll talk a little bit about that later. So lots of work to keep us busy. Next slide. As Greg mentioned, the outfall project has been a beast of a project I've been working on since 2019. So for 6 years, I've been thinking about this single mile of pipe, which seems somewhat crazy when you think about it. It's really not that far. It's only a mile long, but there's a lot that went into it. And since I last talked, we arrived in the river in December. We got to do a walk to inspect the inside of the pipe. So we walked from the launch shaft, which is down near the Main Street roundabout, all the way out basically to the middle of the river to make sure that the pipe was in good shape before they opened it up to the river. And then, of course, we got to watch the wet recovery of the machine, which was really cool. That was 240,000 pounds that they lifted out of the river all in one pick. So that was really pretty interesting. We're making a video right now that I'll share a link for. We're in the process. It should be ready here by the end of the month. That'll get posted out and shared across. So one thing that was interesting this spring, we had some big rains and the river came up. And so the flooding there in that shaft is it's confirmation that we're connected to the river, because as soon as the river came up, we started seeing water in the shaft, and as soon as the river went back down, the water went back down. So that was a little bit of a surprise at how quickly it came up. So what's left on the outfall this summer, we're going to be building the structures to tie in the open cut and the tunneling piece, and the structure at the plant, and the weir in the mix box at the plant, and then it will be put online this fall. We'll have one bit of work. We have to come back next year in 2026. We're working with ODOT to find time in their yard to get out and build a vent pipe. So that'll be work that's remaining. Won't keep us from putting the system online, but it will just work that's left. And next slide. Next project that's having a huge impact on all of our operations this summer is the Intertie 2 pump station and force main project. So we are taking that system and building the peak flow from 10 to 30 at the pump station. So it's another generator and upsized pumps at the pump station. And then all of the yellow segments you see on this graphic there, those are all segments that are what we're installing this summer. All of the black segments, they were installed when they put the 20-inch pipe in. So when the project's complete, we'll have a 20-inch force main and a 30-inch force main, and capacity of up to 30 million gallons. And that really is to allow the growth to continue out in the east part of our system. The interesting thing is we're turning that pump station off this summer because we need to make connections and do some other things. And so that is now taking all of that flow that would normally be pushed to Tri-City. It's going to be going to Kellogg. So Kellogg's going to be running really at full capacity that it hasn't ran on a summer months for quite many years since the system was put online. So it's been a collaboration that's been months in the planning, and that station gets turned off here in August. So that'll be a exciting and stressful time. Next slide. A project that, when we talk about investing, these are kind of the renewal projects, and then we plan for growth. This primary clarifiers project was really a renewal project. The inside concrete was degrading, and so we needed to go in and resurface them, and the original mechanical equipment had been installed since the mid 80s, and so we've upgraded that. One of the things I find that was a great benefit of this project is the sludge coming out of our primary clarifiers because of the new mechanisms and the smoother walls is at a higher solids percent, which means that's less water going to our digesters, which is always a good thing in terms of capacity and extra water in the digesters doesn't really do you a whole lot of good from a digestion standpoint. So that's been an exciting project. It's on our final year of 3 years. We did 2 per year over 3 years. But that'll be wrapped up this summer, and then the primary clarifiers will all be rehabbed at the Tri-City, and that'll lead us on to the next bit of rehab we're doing is the Tri-City aeration project, which is currently under design, and we're taking a lot of the lessons we've learned here on concrete work. Next slide. And I need to pick up pace. Surface water, Upper Kellogg Creek and Three Creeks. So Three Creeks, as I mentioned, the big flagship surface water project we've talked about. We've got grant money, very exciting. We've got a contractor. We're working through contracting right now, and that'll be going to the board very soon for approval. And then they'll be working on it. It is a fast burn project, but in-water work is required, which can't start until July. So hopefully things work out. We get contract in place and can get going. And then Upper Kellogg, if some of you are familiar, that's an area of our system that has had, I will say the surface collection system and or routing has its challenges. It wasn't really designed or was put in before we kind of took over. And so we're really making great improvements to eliminate a lot of the flooding and keep the water and put the water back to moving through the system instead of sitting. Construction started in February, and in-water work, assuming we get the permits just in time, will continue through summer, and that project will be wrapped up. Next slide. And then I'll highlight a few other plant projects. As I mentioned, I failed in fixing this slide. That's a Tri-City aeration rehabilitation project that I mentioned. That's new controls and taking a look at the concrete. We've got the Kellogg administration building improvements that we're working through that should be out to bid here this fall. And we have the Tri-City influent pumping station project, which is a major project that is increasing the size of our IPS there at Tri-City. And then next slide. And then other collection system projects we have going on. We have the Clackamas Area Interceptor Improvements Project that Jessica's leading. We've done 60% design of the full length of the system, and now we're diving into the middle interceptor, and that'll push through to construction. And then the Rock Creek Interceptor, which extends basically from the east edge of the Clackamas Area Interceptors, will continue the work that was done previously to extend that up into Happy Valley all the way to the Multnomah County edge and out Troge to really facilitate growth in that area that was just approved in well, I guess it wasn't just, but in the last couple of years from the Happy Valley comp plan. And then next slide. And then lastly, we've got the Willamette Pump Station, which is a pretty major investment in the Westland, as Jessica mentioned, but that'll be a whole new pump station. ODOT's building our pipeline across, and we'll have a force main. And it was just recently decided that we're going to focus on, the design will be complete for everything, but we're going to deliver it force main first and then pump station second. So that'll be a really exciting project to have everybody comfortable with the force main, which is the same vintage as Bolton. And so, there is useful life for things. And so that's why we're going to tackle that first. And I think that's it. Any questions? Obviously, if town hall, that's fine. But if you have any questions outside, email me, reach out. I'm always available.
All right, thank you. I don't see any raised hands or chat, so we can move on. Next up, we will go to Gail and Alexa to cover our education partners.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Gail, for anyone I haven't met yet. And I'm going to talk about the education program that we do in the schools. I've been working on this with Sam Bachman from Public and Government Affairs. Can I have the next slide, please? This is an exciting topic and a fun program, as you can see in this photo. Next slide. So what is the Watershed Health Education Program? It is more than just education in the schools, but that's what we're focused on today. And the idea really is to teach kids about watershed science and their role in maintaining healthy water resources in our district, and things that they and their families can do to minimize impact on our water resources and also on our sewer infrastructure. Why do we do it? Primarily, we started it because it's required by our municipal stormwater permit, but we also want to have an informed customer base and also to help us maintain a functioning infrastructure. How we do it, I will talk about after this slide, but we use a combination of different approaches. And where the majority of the program takes place in our surface water district, it's paid for with surface water operations funds. Next slide, please. So right now we do a lot of this education with contractors. The current contractors we have are listed here, that they do a combination of giving classroom lessons first, and then outdoor lessons, a lot of times that are on school campuses, field trips, and for the students lucky enough to be in Estuary Partnerships program, their program is culminated at the end of the year by a trip on the Willamette River in these big canoes. This contract is actually open right now, so we'll be selecting an education contractor, and so these names could possibly change next year. But the idea is really starting the education in the classroom, but getting the kids outside, doing hands-on activities to really instill the information or the lessons in them. Next slide. These are some of the topics that might be covered in a given year. Not every class gets every topic, and we're not even within every school of our district. So we kind of cover what we can with the resources that we have. Next slide. And more continuation of what some of the different topics are. The outdoor experiences are really important. It's a way to connect what they learned in the classroom to kind of like to real life, to see how things actually look and actually work out on the ground. Next slide. We have a smaller program in the high schools. Right now, we're mainly working in Clackamas High School and Adrian Nelson High School. And those two different programs that we have are a virtual reality tour that the kids can do of the Clackamas River Basin, and also a climate science and action curriculum. So the first one is done by Clackamas River Basin Council. They are actually a subcontractor to Lower Columbia Estuary Partnership. And then the climate science is ECO, which stands for Ecology in Classrooms and Outdoors. And again, in addition to what they do in the classroom, they take field trips where they either do macroinvertebrate sampling, water quality testing. They may go out and identify native trees and shrubs. They learn how to use the iNaturalist app. And sometimes they come for a tour of our Carly Creek facility or one of our treatment plants. Next slide. These are a couple classes that are on a tour of the Clackamas River watershed right in their classroom, and they're guided by staff from CRBC. The tour goes from the upper watershed in the Mount Hood National Forest all the way down to Willamette Falls, and it's pretty cool. It feels like you're flying right over these locations. Next slide. We also have an intergovernmental agreement with Clackamas Community College. The Environmental Learning Center is just the perfect location for students to learn about watershed health with the wetlands, the stormwater outfalls into the open water that they can see right there. And their staff are really specifically trained in environmental education. So kids go to field trips at their facility. They have some online classes. They've got something for almost every age. They have a program for preschoolers, elementary school, the career exploration series that many of you have been involved in, where they ask professionals like us to come talk about our careers and again, do some kind of hands-on activity to let kids know about some of the options in the environmental field. They also have a series of webinars that are really widely viewed. And this is also how we recruit our interns through this IGA, which, as you know, has ended up with some employees. So some interns that have gone on to work for WES. Next slide. And then this is kind of a miscellaneous list of other things that we do kind of as opportunities arise. We are involved in some annual regional events like Children's Clean Water Festival and Celebrating Water. We've done a bunch of one-off projects, for example, with Clackamas Academy of Industrial Sciences. We give tours of our facilities. And then with the river health grants, we usually have one or two educational projects through that as well. Next slide. So if you are interested in helping out with one of the career discovery events, or you have any questions or want more information, just contact me or Sam and we can get you plugged in. Any questions?
All right. I don't see any questions. Thank you so much, Gail. And next we will go back to Terrence, who's going to talk to us about PFAS and an action plan preview.
All right. Back again to talk about PFAS this time. So most of you probably know what PFAS is, but we're going to talk today a little bit briefly about what WES knows about it in our system and what we're trying to do about it. Next slide. So for those that you that haven't heard of this, per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, also known as PFAS, are widely used chemicals. Thousands are used since the 1940s in various products. They are designed to resist heat, staining, and water, ironically. So PFOA and PFOS are the two of the most widely used chemicals and are the ones that are targeted for most of the conversations, even though there's, like I said, over thousands of them. So even though U.S. manufacturers voluntarily phased out these in 2002, they are still manufactured overseas and can be imported in consumer goods, and also remain prevalent. That's why you probably heard of them called forever chemicals, because they're extremely resistant to breaking down in the environment. These chemicals exist at very, very low levels in the environment, and wastewater, biosolids, and pretty much most animals, including humans. So they've detected it in our blood already in small amounts. So these studies there have been studies that shown that these chemicals are linked to negative health effects, but we'll talk a little bit more about that. Next slide. So PFAS themselves are synthetic human-made chemicals. They are made, we've probably heard of them as like Teflon and PTFE is one of them, Gore-Tex. So these are the type of chemicals that are in your houses, in your household. That's where your main exposure is going to come from. So that's why we wanted to highlight that, because it's not going to, the risk is probably closer to home, literally, than in the environment and wastewater and biosolids. So those are your common sources there. Next slide. Kind of running through this sort of quick. So these also, we wanted to address the fact that they do still have some in our commercial and industrial sources. They're in the products that people and industries use, from some of our industries that we regulate to some of the ones that for manufacturing. Some of the ones back east you'll probably heard about in Maine and Michigan are the ones that are getting more of the attention, because they've had some different regulations, and their industrial makeup is a little different than other states. Pulp and paper mills was a big driver. There was a movie that came out a few years ago called Dark Waters, from some lawsuits for 3M for some cattle and things like that. So that's where a lot of this exposure has come from, and information of continuing to discuss the emerging issues. Next slide. So why are they a concern? Since they don't break down in the environment, they're highly persistent, they're durable, they have high potential for some human health effects. The EPA has completed some drinking water standards that they're still pursuing with MCLs, although the administration is backing off on some of that as well. But nearly all 50 states are developing their own standards or advisory levels for PFAS, either in water, air, and soil. So that's kind of the background in a nutshell. Fairly quickly, the two PFAS, like I said before, are still being discussed for hazardous waste designation by the state of Oregon. So we are tracking that as well as some other bills that are making its way through the legislature. What state of Washington just passed one for monitoring biosolids, and for land application, they want for some more monitoring. So there's lots of legislation we're tracking. Next slide. So since they're a concern for human health, they're also a concern for public wastewater utilities. They are present in wastewater, stormwater. They're most likely to pass through the effluent and into the residuals like grit and biosolids. There is currently limited options to control PFAS, the sources, but we are working on that. And there's no practicable or at least feasible treatment options. There is a lot of research for different types of heat applications. And so there's a lot of studies coming out on how that affects PFAS. But normal wastewater treatment process are currently not addressing that. And the ones that have been developed are obviously going to cost money. So the options to treat millions of gallons of wastewater are extremely expensive and still technically challenging. Most of the current regulatory landscape is still being developed as well. Oregon legislature is working on in 2007, they actually had a monitoring for hundreds of toxics, including 6 PFAS. We did do a round of sampling for our partner cities through a aqua toxics reduction grant. So we did monitor for that as well. Oregon Health Authority is also requiring all major drinking water providers to test for PFAS. So it hasn't been detected in above any action levels though. The biggest latest is that 2023 Minnesota did a study, and it showed that between 50 to 1,000 per pound of PFAS is the cost, but depending on the size of the treatment facility, can cost anywhere between $3 to $18 million per pound to remove from wastewater. And of course, that a lot depends on the type of regulations you have and the treatment process that you're going after. Next slide. So what is being done besides regulations? So there's a national effort to do that. EPA has conducted a risk assessment of PFAS and biosolids, and they sent out a draft report that is currently open for public comment and recently got extended. They're also planning a national study to require some utilities to monitor the effluent as well, and biosolids. So some of the ones in Oregon are going to have to do that as part of that survey. So they're taking steps, we're taking steps. The influence study and the National Sewage Sludge Survey is going to determine some more, give us some more data. The one we're most concerned about is on the next slide. I'll talk about real briefly, was that draft biosolids risk assessment. We see some potential issues with this risk assessment because they use a model of a farm family, and it's used as a group that's exposed with the adults and children that live near a farm, but it's for those land applications that have applied for over 40 years. And that uses only biosolids as a fertilizer, which isn't common. They use synthetic fertilizers as well. So this exposure and risk to these other PFAS sources in everyday use and products are not compared in this assessment. And so in a lot of the handouts and letters that have been presented from Aqua as well as other agencies is to push back on that risk assessment as and not exactly indicative of current risk, current exposure from how we land apply farms to farms in Eastern Oregon. Next slide. But we are proactive. So what else are we doing? We're voluntarily testing. Like I mentioned before, we partnered with Aqua to develop outreach and communication. So we have definitely fact sheets and presentations putting together similar to this one. We've given one to the Oregon Association of Business, Oregon OCBA. So there's going to be some more conversations with how this emerging contaminant issue is communicated to the public in general. So this is next slide. This is kind of a framework of how we developed how we were going to monitor. So we have these 3 buckets that we created, an upstream, the facility itself, and then downstream. So our objectives were to identify the sources, to understand in our treatment facility how it moves through the facility, and then obviously how it impacts downstream, mainly our effluent and our biosolids. So those first round of studies we completed. On the next slide, if you want to bring that up, we can kind of show where we sampled from. So upstream, we sampled a couple metal finishers, a couple metal castings. Our treatment facility, we sampled our influent and our internal recycle streams, as well as our effluent and biosolids. And then that's at both facilities, Kellogg Creek and Tri-City. And then we also are looking into further testing in the next round. And we did take another group of tests during our 3-day sampling. And we just got the results back last week. So Chris Desiderati and I are going to add a slide to what we see emerging in that last round of sampling, because that was focused on a lot of what goes on in the treatment facility. So our highlights are in our next slide. I just wanted to do some high-level discussion on that to put our results in perspective or into context. So since we looked at upstream against state-specific levels, we surveyed standards in other states and downstream data, and those would govern allowable concentrations. This is the acute freshwater criteria, which is pretty stringent, apply to those short-term exposures, and then the chronic obviously applies to longer-term repeated exposures. So as you can see there, the proposed levels are pretty low for the recommended human health criteria. So that's the current in nanograms per liter. We're talking in parts per billion. So let's talk about our results. So next slide. So I wanted to continue with putting it in perspective. So pretend that Willamette Falls averages a summer discharge of 8,000 cubic feet per second, and how big of an object flowing over the falls would correspond to the following concentrations. So parts per 100 would be that grand piano, parts per 1,000 would be a bag of groceries, parts per million would be a teacup, parts per billion would be one single pea that you can see on there, and parts per trillion is a poppy seed. So when we're talking with parts per trillion, we're talking about in a single poppy seed going over that the Willamette Falls. So that's just a visual perspective to put what the issue of PFAS in the environment really is. It's that poppy seed going over the falls. Next slide. So this is kind of a nutshell results summary. We have more detailed tables, but we didn't want to bore you with the chemistry. But if you're interested in that, Chris and I have those slides available for you. But basically, all three samples had detection at least one PFAS compound. Our upstream results were well below any other of the state action levels required. Additional response, with one exception. One of our metal finishers did have a high result of a certain surfactant, and so we're looking into that, see if they could swap it out with something else. The plant results showed low levels of those PFOA and PFOS, which are the two that everybody's looking at more closely. And then in the last slide, we'll definitely talk about what you could do at home. So those are kind of it in a nutshell. The little thing at the bottom is a quarter cup and a half cup is what those detections levels were. So the takeaway from that is in this last slide, what you can do at home. There's definitely something you can do every day to minimize your exposure, choosing products that are have less PFAS by seeking these kind of logos, the safer choice, the green seals. Don't eat household dust. Just joking. Eat safe fish and safe game, and obviously learn what's in your drinking water and support source reduction. So the last slide I wanted to leave with you, or that was one, and we also have handouts that Aqua put together that we'll send out in an email, and that's also what they developed for you to use at home. So the next steps are we're gonna look at source reduction and continuing data. So that's where we're going to approach that, as well as the legal and the legislation. So I wanted to leave the last comment is that we're supportive of some new legislation to sample our fields, not our fields, but fields that are land applied on, so that we could see what's going on in the soils as well. So there's a bill going through the House of Appropriations for a study that Oregon State University is going to present that data to us as well. So we're supportive of that. So that's all I got. I know I ran through that really fast, but if you have any questions, reach out to me or Chris. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Terrence. Just do a quick time check. We've got 5 minutes left, and we've got Ron and Elisa up to talk to us about the engagement survey focus groups coming up.
Okay, I'll go first. Thank you. Main message I want to convey to you all before I turn it over is that your voice matters. Your input matters. What you feel working here and what you need to work here matters as well. So thank you for taking the time to complete the employee engagement survey. We had a great response. We have next steps. If you watch the video and had the presentation, you know what our results look like. But I just want to also say that, what we hear from you gets turned into action. In our last round of engagement survey was 2021, I think. we heard about better alignment with leadership, better alignment with our vision, mission, values, and direction the organization is going. That all turned into direct actions for boosting communication, holding more events for getting you all together to do fun things, strategic planning, a lot of our workforce stuff that's happened over the past couple of years was a direct result of that engagement survey. So it's great that you're engaged. It's great that you're along the journey with us, and we very much appreciate it. And now I'll turn it over to your new WES engagement ambassador, Elisa Rivera.
Well, that was fun. If you're not awake now, you are. Hello, everyone. My name is Elisa Rivera, and I just wanted to let you know that we are going to be holding a series of engagement discussion groups as a follow-up to the engagement survey. These sessions are going to be a chance for you to share your thoughts, what's working well here at WES, what's not, where we can do better. The feedback and suggestions will help shape how we're going to move forward as an organization. We want people to feel really comfortable and be open and transparent in these sessions. So if you do give feedback, you will remain unnamed. And we very kindly have asked upper leadership to not attend these so people feel more comfortable. Thanks, Greg and Ron, for being good partners. So yeah, we're really hoping that you will join and participate in this conversation. So what's next is part of this whole process, we're not just collecting feedback, but the focus groups and the survey results alone aren't obviously going to improve engagement. We have to have action, and we're committed to acting on it. So we'll be using what we've learned from the survey and the discussion groups to create a meaningful action plan. The goal is to identify key areas where we can improve and take some concrete steps to address them. We plan to have an update on the results that we get from these discussion groups, as well as an action plan by the next WES Town Hall this coming fall with just details and an update for you folks. Next, oh, you're already on the next slide. Thanks, Chris. Great. So how do you join one of these discussions? Chris has them listed on the screen. Later today or tomorrow, I'll send an email out for you to sign up for one of the discussion groups. Totally understand that oftentimes work gets in the way, your life gets in the way, you may be on vacation, and you may not be able to attend one of the groups that's already listed. If that's the case, there is an option in there for you to have an alternate way to get us some feedback. We really want to hear from you. So we're trying to be as flexible as possible. And just sort of closing, we just want to make sure that you guys are aware that your input is essential for helping us understand what really drives engagement here at WES. The more we hear from you, the better equipped we are to create a workplace where people feel supported, connected, and proud to be a part of. Yeah, we just want to make sure you guys know that you play a key role in shaping WES in the future here. We really want people to come to work and enjoy working for WES. Questions? Reach out to me. Don't ask now because we don't have time. We got a minute left. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, we got 1 minute left. So I know that Greg, he mentioned at the beginning, wants to chat to us about the movie Raging Midlife.
Yeah, go see it, everybody. It's really funny. Matt is amazing in it. Super funny, seriously funny comedic actor. They filmed it locally. You can tell they had a ton of fun with it. Yeah, you can get it on Prime. I was able to see it in the actual theater here in Oregon City, which was a treat. So yeah, it's just a lot of fun. It's awesome that Matt is doing stuff like this. So thank you, Matt. Matt, is there anything you want to say?
I would like to say thank you to all my WES friends and family for either running it or coming to the screenings. I really appreciate it. You guys came out in big numbers, and I noticed. So really, thank you, everyone, and to you, Greg, for your support. You were one of the early reviews on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you also helped facilitate getting some of the WES folks to the Oregon City premiere by purchasing tickets, which helped us sell out that night. So thanks, everyone.
That's great. And as Matt mentioned, it helps them a lot to do a Rotten Tomatoes review. So if you do watch it and you enjoyed it, it's easy. Really, I could do it. So it's
So anyone could do it. Awesome.
that's all I've got. Well, are we wrapping up, Chris?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, the only thing I have to wrap up is please remember that the wildfire smoke and the heat stress trainings are mandatory across the county, and they're due by July 5th. So please they don't take that much time. So please be sure to get those done. And that's it. This was a lot of information today, but it was fun. A lot going on. Appreciate all of you, and have a great rest of your week.
All right. Thank you to all our presenters.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
thanks. Yep.